Wonderful. Thank you. I know we have some questions, so please, could you identify yourself and then... just one.
It's clear now. I am Prabjot Kaur from Chandigarh, presently on a visit to US to visit my son. I have been a professor of English in Chandigarh government colleges and I retired as principal government college for women, Ludhiana. I am into Sikh studies and presently I am editing the journal Abstracts of Sikh Studies. And I have been into women's studies for the past, I think, more than 20 years. I have written 2 books on Sikh feminism, you can say, one in English, another in Punjabi. I have those books with me. First of all, I would like to define what is Sikh feminism. This is a seminar on Sikh feminism. So what is Sikh feminism? Now, feminism has been defined, I am quoting from my book. I quoted some writers. I hope I don't take more than 2-3 minutes. Yeah? It is not a question. It's a comment. It's a comment. Can I make a comment,
yes, because I know there are more questions, but please go ahead.
Just a minute. Yeah. I'm going to make a comment. The term feminism seems to have first been used in 1871 in a French medical text to describe the cessation in the development of the sexual organs and characteristics in male patients. But then then the term was picked by a French writer who was an anti-feminist who used it in a pamphlet published in 1872, and he described feminism as women behaving in a supposedly masculine way. Thus, phrase says, although in medical terminology feminism was used to signify feminization of men, in political terms it was first used to describe virilization of women. So this is how feminism has been described. Well, how is Sikh feminism? Where does Sikh feminism stand as with regard to this definition? I feel here he says feminism is the virilization of women, masculinization of women, you can say. But Guru Nanak, he says women is more powerful, superior than men. Guru Nanak was spirituality personified. Meeting the God, being one with the Lord was the only aim Guru Nanak had. And he says, he tells, oh man, if you want to meet God, follow the woman. Because she is more superior. Jaye pucho suhagani, tusi ravya kini guni, sai santok sigariya, mitha bolni. So we have to decide where to place Sikh feminism. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, would you like to address that? Or okay, we have some more questions. So there was a word that came up, suhagani. Nikki, would you like to talk about suhagani? Before, are there any other questions from the... There were a couple of people and then now they've gone? Yes. Okay, yes, yeah.
Well, I think I actually would like you to address Nikki's comment, because I think the idea that defining feminism as masculinization is like a certain definition, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Right, that's what I would like to hear. Inderpal, your thoughts, and Nikki's your thoughts, because I did not, I mean, in my limited understanding, feminism to me was not being masculine, overlooking that part. Is that how you...
I guess that's
know, there's a long history of people trying to define what feminism is. And what feminism has been changes with historical time periods. So feminism, you know, in feminist studies, you think about Western feminism as the first wave, the second wave, and now the third wave, and whatever else. So feminism changes all the time. People try to articulate it, reinterpret it, think about it in their own time period, what makes sense to them. So it's a very historically shifting way of addressing the way in which gender works in society and the problem of the subordination of women. So most of it sort of tries to deal with that subordination in a variety of ways, right? So that's so you get, you know, the 18th century meaning and the 19th century and Simone de Beauvoir. You can get the Indian feminist, the reformist feminist, the more recent version of the civil rights kind of feminist, the legal feminist. Then you have religious feminism, various kinds of articulations of rereading of text, of religious texts that produces Sikh feminism, Islamic feminism, Christian feminism, theology. So you know, it's hard to pin it down and to say what it is. So I would say there are a variety of feminists. Many people use it to address some of the problems that we see in society around gender.
Nikki, could you also address the issue of the translation, because, you know, it came up when...
Yeah. No. I first of all, what Inderpal just said makes a lot of sense. There's such a variety, and recently there've been also Western feminists within America itself, the white feminist movement, and womanist. That's what the African Americans, you know, this is color, this is kind of a lavender kind of, and the color purple, more intense notions of feminism. That's what womanism is. So there's a whole variety of interpretations, etc. Within the Sikh world itself, with Guru Nanak, I don't think he saw people as humans. You know, even religion. There is no Hindu, there is no Musliman. You know, what he was saying is people are so carried away by these categories and these divisions. So his vision was really very inclusive. It did not matter who was man or woman or Hindu or Muslim. It was, how do we become a good human being? And if it's a good human being, man or woman has the same role. We have to be good. We have to be equal. Equality was what he emphasized. So I think that is very, very crucial to the Sikh world, and that's something we forget. We often say, oh, gee, he got rid of caste and Guru Gobind Singh got rid of caste, but we never think about gender, sexism that pervades our society at every level. And we are silent about. And do you think the gurus left that aside when they were such proponents of equality? So it's a humanity that he was after, and I'm thinking that's why we can interpret his word. And that's why, how's the Guru Granth Sahib written? What is the tone? These are male gurus. How do they identify? It is with the female they are identifying. It's in the female tone. And not only in the women in this world. Harni homa vanvasa. You know, it was even the females in the animal world that Guru Nanak so idolized. The sparrow, jedi khudaye kendi hai. You know, this is who wobbles khuda in the Arabic word. That's in our Guru Granth Sahib. You know, so he's just so marveling at Nagan, you know, female serpent, the deer, the doe. You know, it's in the female is taken from every species, and he really idolized the ant. Japji Sahib vich aanda, you know, kidi jide dil vich, you know, Vaheguru hove. So so I don't think they were carried away by these categories, male, female. It was really the goodness, humanity. And if you're good humans, I could not treat my husband unequally. And if he's a good husband, he would not be treating me unequally, or my parents and so forth. So everybody, it's to be good humans. That's what I say. That's the message. And that's where we draw our feminism. That's where we draw our masculinism, however we want to term those things.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think that the caution that I would say is agree that Guru Nanak said that women were more superior to men. That is antithetical to Sikh thought. Sikh thought is about equality. It's about breaking gender barriers. Did Guru Nanak use the feminine voice and write in the feminine voice? Absolutely. But I believe that that was done in order to balance the masculine and feminine energy in all of us. If we look at, again, the 5 khands, Gyan, which is traditionally seen as the masculine realm, the realm of knowledge, society has often interpreted that to be the male realm. And then the realm of beauty, which is the Saram khand, which has been traditionally seen to be the feminine world. Guru Nanak is saying that both of those are critical in your evolution as a person and as a spiritual being. So I think I just want to hand that caution out there. Absolutely, the female voice is integral. The female kiri, not kira, analogies are critical in Gurbani. But they're critical because it is that which is often overlooked that Guru Nanak is trying to raise to the same level and status of the male dominant society in which he operated and in which I think we all still operate.
So we have another question. Thank you. Sure.
One quick thing to add to the question. I think the question of feminism is also a kind of question of modernity. So the ways in which sort of issues of power and subordination emerge in the modern world dramatically different from the way that they emerge in other historical periods.
I have 3 questions now.
3?
Yes,
Okay.
because I've been waiting. Anyway, so I'll try to ask these questions in order if I can remember. Sure. First question is for Professor Indrapal Grewal. It's you referred to that there's been lots of literature already about the explosive violence in Sikh history from the woman's perspective. Can you share your thoughts on that literature? Maybe I misremembered or misheard what you said, but that's what I thought. Because there's lots of literature written by Indian feminists about 1947, which was written after they experienced and witnessed 1984. And I commend those feminists because of their feminist perspective and how they went into the refugee camps and they did the seva of the refugees, predominantly Indian feminists. And we commend their work and highly regard that work. But in terms of Sikh feminists or the Sikh feminist voice or the Sikh woman's perspective with respect to 84, I'm sorry, but that voice is muted. It's muted by the Indian state in India. No scholar in India would talk about it. Even Indian feminist scholars won't talk about it. They talk very little. There's quite a few scholars who actually even stated that they could not talk about 84, so that's why they went and tried to talk about 47 and tried to address what they saw and witnessed in 84. So that voice is suppressed in India. In the West, there is academia, which you referred to, and I'm a physicist by background. I completely have complete respect for the methodology of research, for the scholarly approach, for the whole, being critical inquiry. Have complete respect for that and admiration for it. But the tension at the moment is such that we have to do conferences in secret. We have to, if we want to do something, we can't publicize it. I can talk to you about it another time maybe, but there's this, if you meet a Sikh studies scholar, the first feeling that they have when they meet you is of, oh, what is she going to ask me? Is she going to hit me? Is she going to threaten me or something? You can't even ask a question these days. And anyway.
So can we go quickly to, because we are running
okay,
short of time.
so questions, the other questions are to do with this major, everybody I think here is here today because they do understand and they do have some sense and feeling of that there is some just basic ideas of feminism within Gursikhi. That's why everybody is here today. We're speaking to the choir. And when we're talking about different feminisms, okay, we're going to enter this like major big, radical feminism or liberal feminism or whatever. I think we shouldn't go there. I think we should just at least say, hey, we're in the same room. Let's just start talking beyond this. What is the work that needs to be done collectively and how should we organize to do that work? We talk constantly about the philosophy and the ideas of Sikhi, but we don't talk about the practical structural changes that we need in society. I am one generation away from the agrarian culture of Punjab. And the ideas and the thinking that comes from that agrarian economy are embedded in me. And that's why when my mother talked about 47, she talked with pride of how she was told to throw herself in a well. And I think, we have to talk about how we're going to have these structural changes. Even my families here in the West, who've been here for more than 40 years, when they write their wills, it's their sons who inherit their wealth. Even now that happens. It's absurd. When is that going to change? How are we going to change it? And how are we going to organize? How are we going to work together collectively? How are we going to collectivize? And the questions I have are like, we constantly talk about that the gurus got rid of caste, but the reality is every village in Punjab is an apartheid village. Caste is very much there. It's rigid. It's ingrained almost. But and it's in the mentality here in the diaspora as well. I want to talk about structural changes. How do we achieve them? Those are questions for Bhavanji Balwinder Kaur.
That I don't want us to go away with the impression that this is a struggle. Gender equality is a struggle just for women. This is a universal struggle. If we look at the World Economic Forum's report that was just published about 1 to 2 weeks ago, they have given the year 2095, as the year in which women will achieve equality, as measured on health, economics, politics, and education. 2095, people. The United States of America sits at 20, Canada sits at 19, and Great Britain sits at 24 amongst countries in the world in gender equality. So let's not fool ourselves that this is a problem for Sikhs or for Punjabis. And I think it's really critical because our bias is often skewered towards thinking that the West has all the answers. The West does not have all the answers. The West... Who's number one? Number one are, as probably, we could probably understand Nordic countries. So the top 10 are the Nordic countries, and surprisingly for me, Nicaragua, Rwanda, and the Philippines top off the top 10. Nicaragua, Rwanda, and the Philippines in the top 10 better at gender parity than Canada, the United States, and Great Britain. That's food for thought. More food for thought, just to kind of give you context. The birthplace of Sikhi, India, sits at an astounding 114 out of 142 countries. Birthplace of Guru Nanak, Pakistan, sits at 141 out of 142 countries in the world.
So we have a lot of work cut out for us. Do we have time, yes, in...
We can't take consolation in the fact that everybody is doing bad, so we are somewhere in between. We have to make a change at our level.
Absolutely.
Because if we see the parity, you're talking about that India is on 114. What is the status of Punjab? We are already, for every 1,000 we have less than 800 women, so we are already down. We cannot take consolation in that it's a universal problem. Yes, it is a universal problem, but at this moment, my problem is the bigger problem because of the existence of my species is in danger in
Okay.
my own.
So I'm not saying that we take consolation in that. What I'm saying is let's put this in context. And I think it's critical for us to have a context for the discussion because if it was an easy answer, if there was an easy answer to solve this, then we would have more progress than we have right now. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that that's great, we're doing well. We absolutely have a problem. I've talked about the problem that we have. And I think fundamentally that problem is we're not prepared to take self-action. And I think that's a large part of the problem. That's why I don't think we're preaching to the choir here, because we are all agents of change. And I think it's a question of how do we create more change through the realms and spheres of influence that we have. Every woman here has a father. Is her father in this room on a conference on feminism? Most of us have brothers. Are our brothers here, or would they come here? Many of us have husbands or boyfriends. Are they here? So there are real questions about our influences, our realms of influence, about being able to have this discussion and dialogue with the men in our lives so that they can become partners in this change with us.
Inderpal?
I guess I want to... Those are really good questions. Thank you. Those are really important issues to discuss. One way to think about it is, I agree with Palvinder, we are, all working on change. We're all activists in all kind of ways. Being here is an act. You did a lot of work to get here, and that's important. We can all do the work that we are good at, and so we do different kinds of things, and that's all important. In one realm, because I'm an academic, I believe that knowledge is important, right? And I believe in producing the knowledge that can be taken up by students, by activists, by all kinds of people who I learn from, who learn from me. We work together, and we do our part to make change happen. So the scholars have done a lot of work to produce sort of the numbers on the inequality between women, right? We try to understand societies. We try to understand how masculinities and femininities work. And to your point, Palvin, we don't have very much work on understanding masculinity very much. We've done work on femininity, but the kind of varieties of masculinities and power we don't have. The other problem, I think, is sort of to focus on, to continually we're in this tussle saying, well, Sikhi produces equality, but we have all these problems, right? And so how do we bring this kind of tension into sort of productive tension? One way to think about it is what counts as religion. We have a way in which sort of the emergence of the modern period meant that religion became textualized, right? So we look at the Bani and we say, that's Sikhi. But there are so many practices of Sikhi, and there are so many parts of our religion that make up who we are. And those parts may have other ways of thinking about masculinity and femininity than what's in the Bani. So, there's sort of, so we need to expand our idea of what religion is. We need to produce more knowledges, in which I want everybody to participate in. We can sort of generate this kind of ways of thinking. The more people think together, the more ideas we have. And that's really important, I think. So we have many, many tools that come from knowledge and much work that goes on every day. And so even to the question of inequality in sex selection, there's so much work being done around this now in India. And it's not done only by people in Punjab, because the problem has moved to different parts of India as well. Even places like Kerala are now showing such differences, right? So we all have to work.
So thank you. We are running out of time. We are on to our next session. Thank you so much, and thank you for asking such amazing questions. Thank you to our panelists.